Welcome back to That Atleti Podcast, where we are mad, bad, and dangerous on this Sunday afternoon. I'm Jeremy. That's Ricky. And man, we got a lot on the agenda today, as ever. Excited to get with you again. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Decided to wear the t-shirt to show the feeling in the air of a team that needs to get mad, bad, and dangerous again after a few seasons being a little bit of a lamb. Looking forward to a new season where the team recovers a little bit of that fronty character that we like so much.
It's been more like slightly irritated and overly polite the last 2 or 3 years, man.
Exactly. Too kind.
So you're wearing this shirt in part because of something we were talking about off air. At the end of the Club World Cup final, this tournament's finally over. Luis Enrique had a bit of a head loss going after Joao Pedro, putting his hands on his neck, and it reminded me a bit of what happened at the end of that Champions League final in 2014 when Cholo Simeone went after Rafael Varane. This obviously is another level, but what a bad image for Lucho. The optics on that are not going to be good.
I think it's a little bit out of character for him, but I was telling you that I hope that the refereeing boards are as strict as they were with Simeone about past incidents that he's had, where I think they've been too severe with him, and sometimes it's reputational. I think that Luis Enrique in general has a very good reputation. Today, a little bit tarnished by this incident. Let's just see what happens. It reminded me a little bit to those years with Diego Costa and Raul Garcia and Gabi. I want that lean and mean Atletico that knows how to play the ball, but also knows the other kind of football. And I think that we've lost that way. We always get the label of being the bad boys, regardless of what the behavior is. Might as well be the bad boys. Once you have that label on your back, I think that you just have to roll with it and understand that underdog attitude and buy into it.
We are a long way removed, my friend, from the Gabi and Raul Garcia, Diego Costa days. And we'll talk about Ángel Correa in just a minute and how he took his leave this week.
Yeah. And all of this happens just a few days after we saw Real Madrid's incredibly poor performance against PSG.
Yes, sir.
A stadium that really is not a stadium that brings good memories to them. And that what about that first play by Carvajal? I mean, if they tell me it's Topuria in an MMA fight, I would have totally believed it. Kick to the chest.
Dude, he's always done this. He's always done this.
Exactly. But the guy has like a sterling reputation, and you think he's coming back from an injury. And the first contact he has with another professional football player is again to foul him the same way he got injured. I mean, just trying to foul someone. Yeah,
talking about head losses.
Exactly.
And you sent me that clip last night. I think it was last night, right? Of how that scuffle in the 7-3 at MetLife started,
where he just really. He tackled Lemar with the ball far away.
Yeah, I forgot it was Carvajal who started it. Of course it was.
It was a very ugly fight and pushing and shoving incident. The whole team goes there to look after their own and take care of their players. And that's the kind of attitude that I've really missed. I thought that we were getting that with Rodrigo de Paul. I seriously did. I mean, you saw that bodyguard attitude that he had with Messi during the World Cup. How nobody could touch Messi. He was untouchable. And you see those situations when he's wearing a different shirt, when the stripes are red instead of a sky blue. Mm-hmm. He just loses all that strong attitude that he has and that sense of camaraderie. Sometimes it's a sword fight. Sometimes it's a fist fight. I mean, when the going gets rough, the rough get going. And Atletico has been playing softball while the rest were playing hardball for quite a while.
There were times this past season where I thought we were getting that attitude back, man. Like there were games where we were down to 10 men and we scratched and clawed and fought to get a result. Leverkusen at home in the Champions League when Alvarez scored 2 goals. When we were down a man for 83 minutes against Celta and Sørloth scores an equalizer. There were moments and results like that where I thought this past season we're getting some of that vintage Cholismo spirit back, but we're still not quite there. So hopefully this coming season is a step in the right direction. However, we're going to have to do it without DePaul, probably. His move to Inter Miami is advanced. And Ángel Correa, who has taken his leave this week, he's now a new player for Tigres in Mexico. I wrote about Correa on Into the Calderon this week. I got nostalgic and wrote 1,500 words about him. What would you like to say about Correa? What are your final reflections on him as an Atleti player? Will he be remembered as a legend?
Oh, yes. I think he's one of those unusual stories of a road to becoming a legend. He's been the ultimate super sub. No one's done it better than Ángel Correa. And I think it's not only a matter of Atlético Madrid. I think he's the best sub La Liga has had in its history. I can't think of a single player that has been so crucial for the outcome. He's played close to 500 games for Atlético Madrid, I think.
469.
Yeah, only half of them. Maybe he's only started around half of them.
So I actually wrote about this. 241 of his 469 appearances came off the bench, but 49%.
Yeah, it would be like basically half of them. 88 goals, which doesn't seem like an amazing amount. But if you take into consideration those two factors, that he hasn't played full games in half of those games, the goals per minute add up to make his contribution very important. Correa is a very clutch player, and I think that would be my final thought about Correa. He's absolutely clutch, able to perform in a very limited amount of time when the situation is very dire. And a player that's given you your most recent Liga, he can't be just a Mr. Nobody. Maybe he will be more emotionally missed than from a football point of view, but I think it's sad to move on from Correa. It's
going to be weird to see an Atleti team without him next year. 2 stats about Correa, and then I want to talk to you about Reinildo, who also left last week. I didn't realize this when I was writing this piece, but Correa had 65 assists over his 469 games played, 43 in La Liga. Both of those assist figures rank 3rd in the club's history behind Koke and Griezmann, which I guess I hadn't realized that. That's incredible. The last stat is something that I had kind of been keeping track of throughout the years because I would see this stat pop up on Twitter, and it just always seemed like whenever Correa scored, Atletico would win, or at the very least, Atletico would not lose. So Correa scored 68 goals in La Liga, spanning a period of 60 games. Atletico never lost a game in which Correa scored. 50 wins, 10 draws. Amazing.
Wow.
How can you replace that?
Yeah, well, you know that Saul had a very similar figure.
He did. Yeah, that's right.
So
God.
Sometimes stats tell a story. Sometimes they're just bewildering. I mean, I don't think that Correa would have worked in a different kind of scenario. The same way as I'm convinced that Sorloth has that super sub potential, not to the status of Correa, but I think he does have that potential. I don't think that Correa has ever proven he can be a consistent starter. And therefore, he's like a very good role player. He's great when he's part of the ensemble. He's not prepared for the leading role. He's very important for the overall achievements of Atletico over these past years. If you zoom in a little bit and you see his performance when he started, he hasn't started consistently, and I doubt you will ever find a span of more than 5 games where he started in a row. There's always been other players that had that starting potential ahead of Correa. And I think that's something that he's lived with for a while, and he's just grown weary of, and he's decided to move on. As time goes by, Correa might have second thoughts about this move. I'm not very sure it will work 100% for him. He's getting a tremendous salary, very long contract in terms of years. If that makes him happy, well, good for him. I mean, when you have a player that's been so important for you, you have to be happy for them when they move on to a project that seems to fulfill their desires even more.
And those fans in Mexico already love him. Did you see the scenes at the airport in Monterrey when he flew in? Hero is welcome. I loved that for him.
Atletico has an underdog status in Spain, and maybe a little bit also in Europe. I think it's kind of changed over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, or maybe over the course of the last 10 years. But I would say that outside of Spain, especially in North America, Central America, and South America. Atlético Madrid are a bigger in name than what they are in other places because they play those big games and they do get that exposure. They play twice a year against Barcelona. They play twice a year against Real Madrid, and those teams have global markets. And sometimes you see them on the big stages against Bayern Munich, against Chelsea, against City, against all of these teams, and sometimes they pull off really big upsets because they never come in as favorites. They always come in as underdogs. So they're like the big underdog of Europe, I would say, and everybody loves an underdog. So I would say that for the Mexican league, having a player from Atlético Madrid is very exciting.
Reinildo Mondova is another player I would describe as an underdog, Ricky. He has joined Sunderland on a 2-year deal. I had a lot of people, a lot of Sunderland fans and writers want to talk to me this week. I went on BBC Newcastle to talk about Reinildo.
Wow. Kudos to Sunderland for doing their scouting work. And I think they're getting a good player out of Reinildo, and they're signing him for free, which is a tremendous win for whoever got to sign him. I'm very happy that he's playing top tier football and he's going to a team where they're going to appreciate him. We've all seen his physical limitations throughout his career, and I think there's a before and after the injury. The post-injury Reinildo, as so many times happened with those big injuries, is not the same player. It's a very happy ending for Reinildo, and I can only wish him well. He's been a tremendous player, very professional here at Atlético Madrid. He's played a ton of games, maybe not so many in the second half of his 4-year stint or 3.5-year stint.
Enough to get a plaque, though. He did cross the 100 game mark.
That's very good news.
I think he was at 103 or 104.
I've got a friend that always says, and this is so true, how annoying it is that some players just exit the club in the summer without the glory and the recognition of their fans. And even though they come back maybe half a year later or a year later to get a few applauses before a match, I can't help feeling that Reinildo or Correa or even Savic deserved a better farewell than what they got. Correa had like this underground last game goodbye ceremony that's becoming kind of common because teams have their interest. Players sign contracts that run into the summer, so they have to be very careful about what they do, or what they can say, what they can announce at the end of La Liga. But I really think that Atletico has to be has to improve a little bit on that front of knowing how to send off players that have done so much for the team. And I think that Reinildo has been a big contributor to the team. I don't know if you saw, I know that we haven't talked about this before starting to record, but you're the most informed guy I probably know in the world. So I'm sure you saw it. Have you seen the Felipe Luis clip? His striker Pedro and how he's going to.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's
hell yeah, man.
Simeone has never been. What's going to happen after Simeone has never been clear, I think, until this summer, because
because on one of the first episodes, you and I talked about answering the Simeone question. How on earth do you replace Simeone?
Well, now we have an answer. I mean,
Felipe Luis.
There's the guy.
He was right there all along.
There's a guy across the pond that I'm starting to love to death again. Same way I loved him when he was a player. That's checking all the boxes, and that box of there's one of Simeone's very famous sentences. He had like the 10 rules of Simeone. There was or a few posts about this or a few pieces written about this back in 2012 when Simeone signed, a little bit tongue-in-cheek by the English media about how he arrived, and he gave like headlines, bullet points of the things that he wanted for the team. He said, a good team is a team that defends well. Effort is non-negotiable. And this ties into that second commandment of the Simeone era. Effort is non-negotiable. And the next one was, we'll take it one game at a time, partido a partido. All of those ideas, they're like embedded as if they were in stone in those first Atlético de Madrid dressing rooms, and we want to bring back that attitude. That's what the shirt is all about. And I really like to see if I really enjoyed watching the Felipe Luis clip because it has Simeone written all over him. It really doesn't matter what your name is. If you're not doing the hard work, you're not going to get playing time. And that's something that the teams have to hear once in a while.
Yeah, I don't care how much you cost. I don't care how many goals you score. I don't care what your shirt number is. If you don't work for the team, if you don't strengthen the collective, fuera.
And the funny thing is that when they were saying, like, isn't this like very subjective? He said, no, I've got my GPS data. He's last on all of those metrics. And it's like, okay, I'm here. I've tried to cover for him. I've tried to be like parental about it. I can't do that. It's not fair to the rest of the players. It's not fair to the club that's paying his salary. It's not fair to the fans. Who isn't going to understand that message?
Yeah.
And now we should
populist
talk about
message.
Now we should talk about Rodrigo de Paul. And why nobody's going to mourn him if whatever they're reporting is ultimately true. It's because of that. It's not that he doesn't know how to play.
He does know how to play.
Wants to play out all the time.
It's the lack of effort that pisses me off. And you know what? As talented a player as he is, Simeone is the only one who's in his corner right now. Like, the club is eager to get rid of him. The club really wants this sale to go through, and so he can leave and go to Miami and party with Messi. You know, we talk about how Atletico maybe don't always honor its legends and icons in the best way. You know, Felipe was one of those players who had a really quiet, subdued exit the summer he left the second time. Juan Fran was the same. Gabby was the same. Gabby went to the Middle East and came back 6 months later for a nice ceremony, but it wasn't the same. Raul Garcia was sold after the start of the 2015-16 season. Diego Costa left pretty unceremoniously during our last league title season. Rodrigo de Paul is not going to get that kind of reception. And frankly, I don't think he deserves it. Like, a key player for us, yes, but at times, not all the time. And I want someone in the midfield who has that level of commitment and that dog in him. Rodrigo de Paul doesn't have that dog in him when he puts on this shirt.
Yeah, and Danilo, for example, does. And you can question if the quality is enough. It's there, but the effort, you're never going to question the effort.
Never. That's non-negotiable.
Exactly. I think that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
You know, and we talked about DePaul last week, and I mentioned that it is curious, if not telling, that a team in Major League Soccer is the one chasing him. Transfer fee, at this point, it's going to be what it's going to be. The big problem for Atletico was going to be keeping him on the wage bill and letting him run down his contract and just joining Inter Miami for free next year. You know, there have been a few players profiled as potential replacements for DePaul. Javi Guerra at Valencia is one of them, but I don't think anything can really move forward until DePaul leaves, and it does seem like that's going to happen. And as we talked about, I think last week or the week before,
Javi Guerra feels like too much of a market opportunity to let it slip by. I mean,
yeah, I really think he's going to be massive. A massive player. I really think he's going to be a star. He may be too similar to Conor Gallagher, though. That's maybe the one drawback I have.
The thing with Conor Gallagher is that I'm just afraid that he's not going to settle for a secondary role, and he shouldn't, because he has sufficient market and situations. He doesn't have a strong attachment to Atlético Madrid. He's been an excellent professional. If it's good for all sides, and I think that strategically it would be good for all sides, I think that maybe it's in the benefit of everybody to move on. It's really sad to say that because he's a player that I really like.
I do too.
I think that he's going to feel more accomplished, getting more playtime. There are several Premier League teams that apparently are interested in signing him, and I think it can be. I don't think Atlético de Madrid is going to make money out of this deal. Probably even going to sell at a minor loss, but I don't think there's too much of a role for Conor Gallagher in the way Atletico is building up, and doors seem to be shutting on him and the possible playtime that he can get rather than opening up. There are players that you see are going to be empowered by the signings. For example, I can only imagine Julian playing even better and Barrios being a more important player. in a better midfield, Gallagher is probably going to have even more problems to get consistent playtime. And if Atlético Madrid don't solve the problem and don't address it now in the summer, they're going to have a real problem during the season, and it's going to have to be like a quick sell in December, because the player starts to press to leave and get playtime and play the World Cup, and that could affect the image that people have of Gallagher's professionalism, which is impeccable so far.
Yeah,
I
from
think
all
that
accounts,
nobody
just
has
sterling.
a single bad thing to say about his commitment and how liked he is by everyone on the team, fans and players. And I think that even the coaching staff, I think that everybody was a bit surprised that Gallagher was part of the team. But after his arrival, I don't think he's had the playing time that he expected to be able to have. I don't think the team really needs that kind of role or has space for that kind of role where Gallagher is a better player. And I think it's probably the best for all sides to look at the options, at least weigh the options and see what the possibilities are for Gallagher to be able to turn into a regular player for the English national team.
And you know what? It sucks that I agree with you because I really like Gallagher.
Yeah.
It was kind of a surprise deal. I mean, this is one that Andre Berta pulled off, and I still
Especially
like.
he's a doer of getting rid of Joao Felix. I could not be
That
happier
too.
with the whole situation.
Did you see that he's going to go back to Benfica? Apparently,
I think it's his only option to play.
at 25 years old, he's going to go back and play in Portugal. God bless, man. He brought this on himself.
And it's probably the only place where he's going to be competitive again.
Mm-hmm.
Because in that environment, probably he'll go back to digging in his heels and just getting down to work, which is a problem that he has. He lacks work ethic.
He's never gotten the memo. He's never going to get the memo. That's why he's going back to Portugal. That's not a problem for Conor Gallagher, though. The work rate, the energy, the athleticism, just the playing profile in general is one that I really like and one this midfield really needed. I think only 6 Atletico players played more than him last year. Simeone liked him in terms of appearances. He did get fewer than 2,000 minutes in the league, though, and he never really played his preferred position. So you don't want this to fester.
And now that we're at it and we're doing this decoding game that is so fun, let's talk about Samu's transfer operation being completed to Porto. How do you feel about that?
Samu is someone who I really wanted to be on the team last year. Love the player, love what he could become. He's not there yet. I think, ironically, if he had stayed and not asked to leave before the start of July last year, he probably would have gotten quite a bit of playing time this year. I think that is the irony, is that he would have received the playing time that he wanted instead of, he has to send a WhatsApp message to Simeone and I think Berta, like, I want to leave the club, please sell me. Yeah, I mean, good for him. I guess Atletico wanted to make this move to get money in quickly. Like, it's like, why do Atletico do most things? To get quick money, to get quick cash. So you sell the rest of his rights for 12 million, you pocket a 26 million euro profit for Samu. All right, sure.
It feels like a favor that Atletico is doing to Porto now.
A little bit. They sold him below market value.
So Porto doesn't have to take a hit when they try to sell the player off.
And they are going to sell him, and they're going to get a huge fee for him.
Like Jorge Mendes is setting the pawns. I don't know exactly if he's a Jorge Mendes player, but I'm sure that the playbook is being played out there in that way.
I mean, he's playing in Portugal. Someone knows someone who knows George Mendes. That's how it is.
Yeah, and there's going to be a Premier League team paying around 70 million for him, and that's where Porto will get their money back. They'll make a little bit of money off of it, and that's about it. That's a deal. But yeah, I think Atletico
should have done better here. I think Samu was a player I valued at around 50 million last summer, and he sold for 15 with a week left in the window. I think it's a bit of a mismanagement of an asset. It's fine. It's good business. I mean, Atletico have done this before. They sold Teo without making a first team appearance, and that's 25 million in profit. Yeah. There's this new thing that they're doing with a guy like Adrian Nino in the academy. They're selling him for a cheap fee to Malaga, but they're retaining 50% of his rights. This is what Real Madrid have done for years.
Yeah, they're taking a page out of the out of Real Madrid's playbook in terms of turning the youth system into a cash cow, and basically it's one of these talents is going to pay for 10 years of player expenses, and once in a while you get to make an awesome deal, and even more once in a while you get a player for the first team. Barcelona has not had that situation. They've been in dire straits financially, and they've had to throw all of those players onto the pitch and make them play. And they just rolled snake eyes and got very, very lucky. But
which pisses me off, but it's also kind of warping the field.
You can imagine that all of these Casados and maybe only Lamine Yamal would have made it to the first team. The rest of these would be just around Spain and
like
Europe.
The Kubarsis, the Bernals,
yes.
Fermin.
Just like there's maybe 30 to 40 players from the Real Madrid youth system playing in first and second division in Spain. And like right now, it's becoming more and more common. Every week you get to play against one or two Atletico youth talent players, and that's just the way it's going to go. Atletico have realized that it's a profitable business. You don't make a loss. You make your youth system absolutely financially viable, and once in a while you get a Pablo Barrios. You just have to be very good with the scouting and not mess up and sell the wrong player. Once in a while, maybe you send an Adrian Nino on a cheap deal away for a few years, and you get back a mega talent. Or maybe you just let them go and cut ties.
Like if your academy is not producing first team stars, this is what you have to do. This is a way to stay sustainable.
Yes, financial assets.
Yeah. One more topic for you, and then it's story time. The Cuti Romero saga. This really is a soap opera now, Ricky. Atletico letting it be known through Diario AS that they're no longer interested in Romero. They're tired of waiting for him. Spurs are not going to negotiate, so they're going to go sign another center back. Personally, I think there is still a chance that we revisit this situation in about 4 to 5 weeks. And by the end of August, I think there's still a chance of letting end up signing Romero. But yes. This is like the first point of Realismo, right? You let it be known to friendly journalists that you don't want the player, that we're moving on, but it's really a pressure tactic, right? It's a pressure tactic to get Tottenham to negotiate or get Romero to pressure the club. How do you see it?
You're all the way in Arkansas. You're right. You're very hot. You're on the money.
I know I'm on the money.
I was at the Mad Cool this weekend. It's a music festival.
Yeah.
And right before Muse, I bumped into a friend of mine that's a journalist, sports journalist that writes about Atlético de Madrid.
Caliente.
I don't know if he's at the liberty of talking about this, who talked to someone very, very close to Simeone that same day at the Mad Cool. And Simeone's camp is freaking out. They don't know what this is all about. In my opinion, it's pressure tactics. They're just pressuring the owner through the press or the team through the press to saying, we're not interested anymore, we're moving on, this is not a player for us, and see if that builds up, and the player starts to talk about maybe not showing up to preseason or sitting out training sessions or talking about not feeling physically fit, all these weird shenanigans that go on in summer. And I think you're right. I think we're heading into a very long summer with Cuti Romero, and I have mixed feelings here because on the one hand, I think that Atlético Madrid needs Cuti Romero's leadership. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I don't think they would be bad in a bad situation, opening and other doors, exploring other avenues, going in a different direction. Right now, I'm okay that Atlético Madrid at least has options. Sometimes it feels like Atlético Madrid are out of options. In this case, as long as they sign somebody and the player is here at the beginning of the preseason and not the week before match day 1, we're still talking about this. As long as that's not the situation, and I'm afraid it might be.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that I think that's going to be the situation. I wish Atletico didn't do this crap.
Yeah.
I wish that this, as much a priority as this deal is, I'm not saying it should be done by now, but that this is being leaked on July 10th is when this article was published. The fact that it's being leaked already, like this early in the summer, is suspicious, but it also shows that there just hasn't been much ground made yet, and that is an issue. Like, we've known about this interest for several months, and there's still no ground being made up on this case, on this player. It is good that Atletico have options, though, if they end up not, like, definitively not signing Cuti Romero, but this is the player that Simeone wants. It seems like the club is willing to make an enormous offer for him, and he is the best center back on the market in an event where a scenario where Atletico desperately need a top tier center back. He's the best one within reach. So I think you have to go for him, and we'll see what the next twists and turns are, man. It's just
the analysts that are kind of weary on this deal are weary because of a potential propensity to injury.
Yes.
Being more injury prone, and the situation about refereeing in Spain that is more severe and tends to be a little bit more severe with Atletico than with other top tier sides, and how Cuti Romero might have a rough start with Spanish refereeing because of how intense, let's say, or mad, bad, and dangerous.
But yeah, exactly. It goes back to what we were talking about at the start of the show. We need that attitude.
Kind of player that you need. You need that dog that we're talking about. But at the same time, you do need to understand that you need intelligent players that know how to play the game and don't lose it.
Well, we are running a little bit low on time, but there are two stories I want you to tell me. Well, we teased it at the end of last week's show. What did Mono Borgos tell you at a lunch in 2012 about Diego Simeone's pre-match lunch routine?
There are two things in the news this week that I think tie into these stories. On the one hand, we have social media campaign surrounding the new Atletico jersey and how it's being promoted through fans. I think it's a very organic and very nice way of making fans that are maybe not widely known by the audience to make those stories more public, more well known.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a great idea.
And some of them are people that we know. Marco from Atleti Stats, Adrian Vargas from Atleti Stats, or for example, one of the family members of Deportes Condor, one of the traditional sponsors that sponsored Atlético Madrid in the late 60s and early 70s, if I'm not mistaken. And with the years that I think I'm not, those are great stories, and they're full of Atleti passion. I don't know if you know what made Atleti Stats hit the radar of Atletico fans. They run a stats website that was like very analytical at the beginning, but now it's turned more into a kind of experiential community. And one of the things that they decided to do during the summer, I share a chat group with Marco, and he told me, we've decided that we're going to go to every single Atletico match for an entire season, home and away. So that means that my girlfriend is going to have to accept that I'm away 19 league weekends and as many weekends as we play Copa del Rey or international football.
So the guy, shout out Marco, man. Shout out to Marco.
The guy did it. He went on, and at the beginning it was maybe Atletico. They find out about our initiative and they pay for the expenses or they help out with the tickets or anything. That did not happen. But at least they came through at the very end, at the beginning of the following season, and they've made him part of the campaign for the new jersey. Kudos to Marco and Adrian and all the people at Atleti Stats that have gone on this crazy journey, had a blast at it, enjoyed all of these last minute goals, because this was a season of the last minute goals, and very frequently in the away games. Maybe the Atleti Bilbao is one of the ones that immediately come to memory.
Celta, too, when Alvarez scored his first goal.
Paris, another incredible match won against all odds. Those are great experiences that he's going to walk away from. Well, he got that jersey back in 2012. The jersey behind me when Atlético Madrid was about to go to Monaco to play the Super Cup against Chelsea. and they were about to start the 2012-2013 season. That ended with the Copa del Rey final that Atlético Madrid won in the Santiago Bernabéu. They presented this jersey, and Coca-Cola was one of the sponsors of Atlético Madrid at the time, one of the big sponsors, and they held an event where they took what they thought were influencers. They mistakenly included me in that list of influencers.
Ricky, the influencer? I never.
Exactly, yeah.
I never.
Influencing the Atleti social media landscape since 2012. And they invited a bunch of us on a very mysterious trip that started at Neptuno Fountain. Neptuno Fountain is in the middle of Madrid, very close to Atocha. I guess that many of the international fans are not familiar with Madrid. The Vicente Calderón, where Atlético de Madrid played at the time, is located around 7 kilometers away from Neptuno. Neptuno is where Atlético Madrid celebrate their titles. It's like the place of celebration. We met at Neptuno, and we really didn't know what we were going to do. So when we got there, we met a representative from Coca-Cola, and they told us to get on the bus. They said, get on the bus. And I said, what bus? And it was Atletico's team bus. We got on the real team bus that the team used to go to matches.
Oh, wow.
So we got on the team bus, which is absolutely incredible on the inside. You can imagine. I'm rediscovering cycling these days, and I'm seeing all the Tour de France buses, and it's kind of like that. It's not so spacious because there's more players than a football team, but it's as comfortable as a bus can get on the inside to host 20 or so players. It has a stretcher at the back so players can get massages, and it has a very nice catering area also. And they took us to a restaurant. At the time, there was a Marca restaurant called Marca Café Marca. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was licensed by Marca, and it had part of the memories that they kept in the Marca newsroom. They took all of those mementos, like important jerseys and trophies and replicas of trophies and all that. And when we got to that restaurant, Mono Burgos was there, the assistant coach of Atlético Madrid at the time. When we sat down for lunch, and let me remind you, it was like half a dozen, maybe 8 so-called influencers. Only 4 of us were actually Atlético fans. So while the other 4 were bored to death, the other 4 were like in cloud 9. And we were having the time of our life talking to Burgos, and he was telling us how Simeone was absolutely obsessed with football. He would talk about football all the time, and that was how he lived every single day. And he told us what he would do during lunches before matches. He said, well, if we were in a restaurant like this, he would ask for salt and pepper from all the tables around, and he would turn them into players, and he would play out the game, like saying, if they come with this, we're going to do that. If they so he would game plan up to the very last minute in the hotel while they were having lunch right before they went to the stadium, and he talked about how obsessive Simeone was as a coach. And then he told us about some of the lesser known stories of Atlético Madrid. This weekend, AC/DC has had a mega concert at Metropolitano, and everybody that's ever visited Metropolitano or Vicente Calderón, for the fact, know that Thunderstruck is like the big song for Atlético Madrid. It wasn't the big song. It began to be the big song circa 2014, 2015. And it is the big Atletico song because of Mono Burgos. Before Mono Burgos was an Atlético Madrid player, back in 2001, when Atlético Madrid was in second division, when he arrived to the team, he saw that there was no atmosphere, no pre-game attitude. And he had a little bit of this solo mentality in him. Prior to being teammates, they were also on the Argentinian national team together very frequently. And they were close. They've been close for quite some time. I don't think they have a a very good relationship right now. Their relationship kind of cooled down. Mono Burgos was very worried about Atletico Madrid's attitude in that second year in second division before the team was promoted to first division. So he started to create like a mixtape for the bus, and it was especially important to have that mixtape playing on away days when they went to those rival stadiums. And the most important one was for the Santiago Bernabeu matches. He said that their favorite fixture was going to the Santiago Bernabeu, because what they would do is when they were going up Castellana, and he would tell us, and we did this route with him on the bus, and when we were going up Castellana from Neptuno, there was a point where the police were escorting you. There was a motorcade, and it started to get very loud with Madridistas chanting around you or booing you or whatever. And they needed a song that deafened all of the noise, the outside noise, and created an atmosphere like a war atmosphere. And he thought that AC/DC was a perfect fit for that last part there. So they would play Thunderstruck every time that they went with the team bus inside the stadium, and they would smack on the windows as they were singing the Thunderstruck song. So it was the end of all the bachata or pop or rock music. It was all taken over by AC/DC. And you know that, I don't know if you know that, but Mono Burgos is a big heavy metal fan, and he's even been a musician and a player. He made that mixtape, and that tradition of entering every stadium Atlético de Madrid goes into on a bus, it started with Mono Burgos as the goalkeeper for Atlético Madrid, and was reinstated when Mono Burgos became the assistant coach with Simeone, and they went into the stadium with the sound of thunder, with the riff of Thunderstruck hitting the loudspeakers, and the players hyping up for the game and getting ready for the match ahead. So that's the story behind it. Afterwards, after taking us a little bit towards Bernabeu, we went around. We dropped Burgos off. They took us to the Calderón. We went to the official presentation of the jersey behind us. We got gifted the jersey, and the person that gave us the jersey was Adelardo. And,
wow.
And then they said, "Why don't you wear the jersey? Here's the rest of the kit." So we got a full kit, and they took.
Awesome.
It was like, this is incredible. They just pulled my name out of a list of potential people connected to Atlético Madrid, and I'm just here living a dream, and I don't know why exactly I'm here. And it was an awesome day. And they said, now you have to go play for a while on the Vicente Calderón. And they gave each of us a ball, and we went out onto the pitch, and Juanfran was waiting there for us. And that's why I always have a soft spot for Juanfran. I can never say anything negative about Juanfran, because he was he played with us. He tried to help us score some goals. That he was trying to make crosses from the corner. But I mean, if you've ever seen an elite player close up, they're just too good for you. It was impossible to swing in a ball from Juanfran. They were just too fast. It was an incredible experience, but and an unforgettable one. And kind of weird that it's one of those situations you don't know very well how you were selected to live that dream. At that time, I went to every single match as a reporter, and it was nice to be recognized by Juanfran and say, "Hey, how are you, man? I saw you last Saturday, and you asked me that question about I don't remember what." And it was like, "Oh yeah, he does remember you. You're not just an anonymous face pushing a microphone into his." Close to him. So yeah, that was very cool.
That's amazing. It's an amazing story.
So there goes the story of why Atletico played Thunderstruck at the beginning of every match. It's something that's an idea that they inherited from Mono Burgos, and it just feels like a perfect fit.
And they still play it at the Metropolitano today.
They still play it at the Metropolitano, and yesterday or last night when AC/DC was playing that initial rift, it felt like football was here again. It felt like they were going to start like Atlético de Madrid, 13 of black. That's how they start. With the alineación de Atlético de Madrid. And they have like this pause. The speaker's super nice guy, by the way. And yeah, it did feel a bit like that, like all of those countless nights that Atletico Madrid start matches and start with that light display, with the Thunderstruck anthem.
Well, depending on when this episode comes out, we are about a week away, like 1 week away from the start of preseason training camp. And a few more weeks after that, we'll have a new league season, man.
And yeah, it's I don't know. Do you think that the team will have rested enough? It's one of the things that I really hope that the Club World Cup doesn't catch up on Atlético Madrid, and at the same time, I really hope it does catch up on Real Madrid. So
Yes.
I have like mixed feeling with that. If it's bad for Atlético Madrid, I hope it's way worse for Real Madrid.
I'm choosing to be optimistic about this, as I am from time to time on this program. I think not having a deep Club World Cup run will probably be beneficial.
Yeah, there's a bullfighting saying in Spain, that's puerta grande o enfermería. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying. It's something like it's referred to bullfighters. You either have to go out the big door, which is you have to go out with the glory and the laurels of having had an incredible bullfight, or you have to be in the infirmary because you've been so brave that the bull caught you. So
well, that's pretty blunt. That's pretty.
It's a very blunt. And when we talked about the Club World Cup or the weeks building up to that, I told you about those two scenarios. I wanted to exit the Club World Cup either at the group stage or playing the final. I mean,
well, we got the group stage. It was one or the other, and we did pick one or the other.
It was the lesser evil, I think. Leaving the Club World Cup in after the group stage. I doubt that by 2029 they won't have figured out it's a terrible idea to play this game after having played 57 games during the season. And
I think it'll be a long time before they figure that out. And by long time, I mean never. They will never figure it out. And
the wheel has to continue rolling, and as long as there are players and teams,
there's always money to be made.
Exactly.
As long as there are clubs and players who churn out a lot of money and a lot of eyeballs, this tournament will be ongoing. And I hope Atletico do get to play in it again someday, because it is nice to think about whatever the merits of the tournament are.
Expanding to 48 teams, removing the cap of 2 teams per country.
Yeah, so Atletico would have a better chance of making it again.
Which did not seem to be the case for Brazilian teams, because that capping 2 teams per country and showing up with 4 teams for Brazilian sides, and potentially there could have been 3 Mexican teams. I think that FIFA really didn't figure out these rules, or at least they were thinking about the social impact of the tournament rather than the sports impact. They wanted Messi to be there regardless.
They tried really hard to get Cristiano Ronaldo to be there.
They tried really hard to get Cristiano Ronaldo there, and that's not the way you build a Club World Cup. If you want to create something that is a consolidated product, Chelsea should have never played this tournament. They're deserving champions because they played a heck of a tournament.
Yeah,
but they should have never made it there. I mean, it's just ridiculous that they would be there in the first place with the kind of results that they had obtained in the last season. It's just they use the criteria seems so flexible and so bendable. It wasn't criteria. It was just trying to fit teams through the loophole and see how many of the teams that you wanted to play could make it through the loopholes.
Which could be good news for Atletico come 2029 or 2033 or whenever, whenever they've
already benefited from this set of rules. It could happen again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, man, we're going to sign off here. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of That Atleti Podcast. As a reminder, hit subscribe to get notified on all our latest videos. More content coming in the weeks ahead as we build to the new season. You can follow us on Twitter at Into the Calderon, which is the joint account for this podcast, and intothecalderon.com. Instagram, TikTok, we're there as well. Facebook, Into the Calderon. And yeah, just thank you guys again for listening. We will be back next week. Until then, I'm Jeremy. That's Ricky. Adios.